Mr. Sanders spent his honeymoon in Soviet Russia in 1988 and has lavished praise on the Soviet state. He said he doesn't favor Venezuelan socialism but supported a Marxist-Leninist party that backed the Iranian Revolution. He, and other left-wing radicals, seems to be contributing to the unexplainable decision-making of the Biden administration. But how is it that, after fighting wars to curb the spread of socialism-communism, we wind up with some of their charter members in our Congress? If it's a trend, we can only hope people wake up before it's too late. Another little factoid about this is that Biden always tends to be soft on China, and when asked about Chinese unrest in late 2022 at a press conference, he walked off without a word, which is typical and very disappointing for a president who campaigned on being a moderate. And on his first day in office of president, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki pledged that the administration would bring transparency and truth back to government. If they have done so, where the hell did they put it? Speaking of Bernie Sanders, though, he also favored Daniel Ortega, who was the Soviet-backed Sandinista rebel in Nicaragua. Maybe he tries to distance himself from Venezuela because everybody knows what happened when oil-rich Venezuela, one of the most economically successful countries in the world in their better days, wound up in the socialist trap and became a bankrupt country where people are starving and trying desperately to flee to other countries in the region. Regardless, Sanders says he favors Scandinavian socialism. But the Scandinavians are not socialists, and too many young voters don't even know that. The Scandinavians have generous safety net programs. But so does America. The important part of this seeming departure from Marx is to say that Bernie Sanders, a closeted communist, has been part of our political apparatus for decades and actually garnered votes in the 2020 presidential election, mostly from young people who have been convinced by a progressively leftist educational system to have a radical, revolutionary point of view. A fairly recent report revealed a mother of a New York City heiress named Annabella Rockwell had to pay big bucks to somebody to deprogram her of the woke ideology imbued into her by an elite liberal college. But it's easy to persuade kids to go along with radical views when they don't know any better. So, is Bernie Sanders part of the reason why the oath people take before entering military and civil service includes a phrase, "against all enemies, foreign and domestic"? Perhaps. But what is certain is that Sanders works tirelessly to imbue leftist ideology into our government using the Progressive Caucus in Congress, which has close ties to the Democrat Socialists of America and the Communist Party USA, as a conduit for pushing socialist policies into the Democrat Party. The Progressive Caucus is responsible for the Green New Deal, which will bankrupt America, Medicare for all, which would be another fiscal disaster, amnesty for illegal migrants, hoping to ensure one-party rule, which we've already experienced during Biden's time as president, and virtually everything on the communist wish list. But let's get back to Marx. Karl Marx has become a tool of the modern left. Karl got his panties in a twist because he didn't have the riches enjoyed by others of his time, and he came up with a plan that has ruined countries, killed and enslaved people, and generally caused problems worldwide for countries stupid enough to pay attention to Marx. For some insane reason, certain factions of people in this country constantly push socialism, especially in our colleges where naive and uninformed young minds are being indoctrinated to believe it's a fairer and better system. The operative words there are naive and uninformed. Marxists have infiltrated our most basic institutions and are spreading their influence as much as they can with a mentality that pushes full steam ahead toward abolishing capitalism, the system that made America's standard of living considerably better than that of the majority of countries on Earth. So, to arm the uninformed, let's reveal who Marx was. Many people take solace in thinking there is an unseen, but very real afterlife where people are, perhaps, sitting on some cloud playing a harp. or lying around doing a pick-six on the coming date when the wolf and the lamb would lie down together, and all of humanity's suffering will be but a distant memory and a tale to be told. But not everybody believes in that version of the utopian story, so was Herr Marx, right? Is religion the opiate of the people? Is utopia something that can be created by man through a system of increasingly restrictive laws of a tyrannical government that keeps growing like a cancer, where the individual is unimportant and what's good for the government rather than the individual is the only acceptable model? But wait, what if Marx's idea of utopia doesn't comport with the concept of utopia by the rest of humanity? Anyway, as we've made clear, Marx was an atheist, and thus, atheism reverberates throughout his writing and is like catnip for his enthusiasts who get relief thinking they can do whatever they want without any risk to their eternal souls. Hence, the establishment of a Marxist government in America means God gets kicked to the curb, as it was after the Soviet takeover of Russia. Marx did, after all, say,
"My object in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism."
Let's introduce a little sidebar here. If atheistic socialism takes over America, who benefits? Where does it come from? Think it through. Satan would love it if America became an officially atheistic nation, as did Russia in 1917, China in 1949, Cuba in 1959, and Vietnam in 1975. Socialism was invented by an atheist. Satan isn't an atheist because he knows better, but has been trying to convince mankind that God doesn't exist and he can provide a heavenly utopia on earth without God anyway. In addition to religion and private property, Marx wanted to abolish the following things. 1. The family, i.e., the core of all civil society. 2. Individuality, i.e., the opposite of collectivism socialism. 3. Eternal truths. Jesus said the truth shall set you free, but socialism seeks to control you and manipulates what you're allowed to say, see, hear, do, know, and think. 4. Nation-states, i.e., a prelude to one world government under the Antichrist. 5. The past. Marx wrote, "The past dominates the present." In a communist society, the present dominates the past. Marx said,
Communism abolishes eternal truths, religion, and all morality.
Morality, you say? Is that a connection to, if not a justification for, the left's love affair with abortion, gay marriage, homosexuality, and transgenderism? Either way, along with other attacks on Western civilization and values, it contributes to the breakdown of society at large.